Hey guys, welcome back to Tom Mods Things. We are back working on the My First Car project. This is the Seat Arosa, which is my first car that I've bought back 17 years later, and we are modifying it in the way that we always wanted to when we were that 16, 17-year-old lad looking around all the Max Power shows in the early 2000s, wishing that he could build something quite as cool as the cars that I used to see in that show. So now that we've kind of got a little bit older, a little bit wiser, we've got obviously a few more builds under our belt with all the Max Power cars and stuff outside. So we thought, why don't we just redo our first car? So we've already made a start on that. So what do you want to do when you're 17 years old and you're looking at Max Power cars? Well, of course, you want a big bad boy body kit. So we've got a custom front bumper that we've built from scratch, basically merging a top half of an Arosa bumper with a bottom half of a bumper off of a Renault Clio. We've got Renault Clio side skirts, again custom made, so we've ended up making end caps and shortening them and re-fiberglassing and smoothing them into the body. And then we've got this wicked rear bumper, and that is off of a Punto. So we've cut that up. Luckily it wasn't too much work. It was pretty crazy, to be honest. If you look back over the previous episodes, you'll see just how sort of close it was, but still required a lot of reshaping and stuff on the top. And basically we've taken, again, same as the front bumper, top substrate, molded it into the bottom substrate and smoothed it all in together. So it's looking absolutely amazing. Now, what are we doing in this episode? So you can see the car's coming on pretty well at the moment. It's looking pretty sick. We've got chrome mirrors and massive wheels and stuff now, so we're just sort of getting around to getting those to fit. But one thing that we have needed to sort out is the lows. So never ever fitted lowering springs or coilovers to the car when I originally had it. You may tell now that this is maybe happening after that has already taken place, but we're going to go through the process of what that's like. It's very, very easy, very, very simple. Anyone can really do it who's got maybe a couple of spanners and stuff floating around and is up for a bit of a challenge. And I think definitely at 17, it is one of the biggest changes on a car is to be able to get it sat on its arse. So that's 100% a mod that you need to do. One of the first mods I'd say on a vehicle is to get it nice and low. So we're going to be doing that. We've got few ideas for the rear spoiler, so we've had a few sort of things floating around, but we need your help to kind of decide on what we do with the rear wing. We've kind of got an idea. We're going to start 3D printing some stuff, so that should be really cool. But one of the major things that we need some ideas on is what we do with the interior. Now the interior is pretty basic, it's pretty small, and a Arosa and a Lupo is not a big car, so we've got kind of limited space to play with, but we would like some ideas from you guys as to what you might want to see on the interior of this, or whether it's a themed build, you know, like a roulette table maybe in the centre of it, or something silly like that, or a pool table, like a mini one, that could be quite fun, or just fill it full of a wall of speakers effectively and make it as loud as possible. But yes, anything that you guys can come up with, chuck it in the comments. I always read them, and as we did with the 106 when we did that as a community-led build, obviously all those ideas eventually make their way into it, and then you guys can be a part of it as well, because I really enjoy that aspect of YouTube and social media and stuff. So absolutely chuck that in the comments. So anyway, stop talking, let's crack on. Let's walk you through what we're doing to get these coilovers fitted. Right, so the next thing to sort is this thing right here, where you can see that massive gap in between the front wheel and the fender. Now granted, the front at the moment is extremely high because there's actually no engine in the car. However, that was something that I never sorted back then, never put coilovers or lowering springs on this. Something that I always wanted to do, always wanted to have it slammed on its arse. And so yeah, we're going to have to change that. So what have we got to sort that out with? We've gone and picked ourselves up a set of second-hand coilovers. Awesome, so we are going static again, which is epic. Was contemplating putting air ride and stuff on it, but I think for budgetary reasons and things like that, we may as well just go with coilovers first and see what happens, because it's just easier. Chuck it on, put it really low, and then just work out what's rubbing and cut it, basically. So we're going to crack on with getting these fitted. Really straightforward. 2 bolts on the bottom, 1 bolt on the top. We're going to reuse the top mounts that are on there at the moment, but we'll take a look at those as we get them off. But yeah, should hopefully be pretty straightforward. I've done a lot of these now, so hopefully fingers crossed. Right, so as with all old cars, this is kind of what you're up against. So we've got some nice rusted bolts here, but there's only 2 of them, so we've got to get basically a spanner on one side. We're going to use an impact wrench on the other just to whip it off. Bearing in mind we've also got to replace all these brakes and stuff. Not sure we can reuse that as an example, especially once we get the 180 in there. They're looking particularly small. And then we've got the top mounts to do. So typically, if I can get my hand out of the way, stick a hex key, as you can see, just in the centre, and then yeah, you just have a socket or whatever around the outside just to whiz that off afterwards. But we're going to see if we can get it all done with this, which we never actually had when we were doing coilovers when we were in our youth. But now we've got a little bit more expensive tools, even though Ryobi isn't. Then we can crack on and hopefully whiz all this off without too much trouble. Fingers crossed. Right, and there we go. Coilovers loosely fitted in. We've left the helpers and stuff in for the moment because, as we can see on the other side that we have completed, it is looking quite low already. Not so much that we've jacked up the front, but if we let this down, then we're kind of already at that height and there's absolutely no weight in the front because there's no engine. So yes, it's definitely going to be tucking, but we're going to need to do some arch work. As you can see there, it's very much on the edge, so this whole thing's going to have to be rolled out. But we kind of knew that, so that's not a big deal, to be honest. We can get on and we can sort that, and we've got an arch roller already. So it's a pretty straightforward thing to fix, so we can crack on with that afterwards. So now it's just to move on to the back, get that sorted and lowered, and then we can see exactly what it looks like when it's all on the ground. Right, so making some progress. Front's all sorted out. Now we have moved on to the rears. For the rears, it's really simple. It's basically, well, we've already dropped the whole thing out, but in essence, there's one bolt that holds this shock absorber in at the bottom here. You've got your spring perch where it sits just over there, and then you can see it on the floor just over here. And then there's one bolt up the top that we need to do to drop that shock out, and then basically we just rebuild it sort of in reverse order. We can get our adjusters in for the spring perch, we can then put our shocks back in and then button it all up, lift the back up, and then yeah, all the coilovers are fitted. For this sort of era, sort of age, sort of early 2000s, for VAG cars in particular, pretty much all of them are exactly the same, to be honest. So all of it's an very, very similar setup on the rear. So once you've done one, you can kind of just keep doing it sort of again and again and again and know exactly what you're up to. Now we have got a lot of cleanup to happen under here because we haven't actually looked into kind of cleaning up all this area, but while we've kind of got it up in the air on axle stands on front and back, I think we're going to crack on and we're going to get all this sort of tidied up and cleaned up, and then obviously our drum brakes are going to be getting replaced, I think, so we'll probably end up needing to drop this whole rear axle and put a GTI axle in the back of it because that has a disc brake setup. But at the moment what we're going to be doing is just getting everything tidy. We'll leave these on just for the moment probably, just while we get the ride height and everything set up. And then with a little luck, we'll be all back together again, and then it's time for the engine to go in. Right, and there we go, everything in. I've got all of our little adjusters and stuff in place, all the shocks and everything all buttoned up as we needed to. Access wise in here, we had to take this panel out. We're taking the roof seat belts and stuff out anyway, so this kind of all coming off wasn't a big deal. But yeah, you can see there, the struts in, and on the other side as well, looking good. Right, and there we go, back on the ground again. Obviously there's no engine in this at the moment, and look how low that is sitting on the front. Absolutely ridiculous. We're definitely going to have to raise this up. And then on the back, again, no weight and stuff in the car, and this still has the adjusters in it. I think we are in a position where we'll definitely be tucking 18s. I reckon this arch we can get it down to about here. The issue we're going to have is not a lot of space in between this side skirt and the floor at the moment, so that is going to end up being our sort of issue as to whether or not we can actually roll around with the clearance to the side skirts, because smashing these against the floor is not going to be an enjoyable experience. But yes, looking very cool. And then as we come around to the other side, I reckon it's probably much of muchness. Similar thing, just sat on top of the wheel, and then rear on that one again as well. Looking very cool. Right, so now we've got the coilovers on, cracking on with that. We can take a look at all the other stuff that we've been getting on with as well. Now, the rear bumper we showed in the last video, not too much has changed on that, just a bit more smoothing and stuff. It's just looking absolutely epic. And these rear lights with the lenses taken out, once we've glassed this in and made it colour sort of coded to the body, is just going to look absolutely amazing as well. Loads of work done on the side skirts. As you can see, they're looking like they're meant to be on this car, so they've been sort of fully smoothed in all the way along. We've got a capping piece now on this end as well, so made that, started to blend it in. We've still got some work to do down here, but they sort of finish here, and then we've kind of got to clean this and put some sort of arch liner type thing in, but that's all good. So these have all kind of been bonded in, and then also if we open it up, you can see how it runs along the door side of that as well, and all sort of blended in around the corners as well. Then coming round, we've got our new chrome mirrors on. Awesome, looking a bit dusty, but yeah, definitely in keeping with the sort of stuff that we do on this car. And then we get into the front bumper situation. Now, there's a few areas on this where we've added a little bit more filler and we need to do some sanding, but my god, does it not look wicked. So it's kind of all been bonded together, it's all glassed in, all the structure's been put in, and it's just looking like a bumper that was meant to go on this car originally. I think it just looks absolutely epic. Very, very, very cool. Now at the moment it can't really be fitted because we've taken all of the front, as we can see here, out of the bay for basically the new engine to be put into it. So all the front sort of cross member and stuff has been taken out, and all of that has the mounting and sort of support areas for the bumper to be sat on, so it can't really go on at the moment. But I'll chuck up a picture now of what it looked like. So yeah, I think you'll agree that looks absolutely amazing. Very, very, very happy with how that's come out, and it looks absolutely awesome. So coming around to the bay, we've been clearing everything out of this area around here, ready to get some bits sort of cleaned up and painted. We need to get this exhaust pipe off. We've removed the sort of mounts up the front, we've just cut them, but we need to do the same down the rear. It's kind of got a cross member from what I can see underneath that goes basically between 2 points with 2 bolts, and then we basically need to remove that to be able to drop it out. So now that we've kind of got it up in the air at the moment, we'll be able to crack on and get that sorted. Now if we quickly have a look inside at what's going on, it's pretty, not a huge amount has changed. It's just full of bits at the moment. So this is basically all the stuff around bar the engines. We've got ECUs, we've got pipe work, we've got intercoolers, boost pipes, we've got the new gear stick and linkages that need to go in, engine mounts, just sort of all sorts of tat. We need to remove the rear seats, which we'll be doing shortly, because the idea with the rear of this is the whole thing is going to become like a big fiberglass sort of enclosure. We're going to get 2 big subwoofers across here, and then I think what we might try and do is have a TV that actuates. Very pimp my ride, which would be very cool. And then if we can inbuild like a sort of a little cooler or something in here for drinks, I personally think that would be absolutely stupid, and yes, very cool. But as always, stick what sort of your thoughts are with this sort of crazy side of things on the interior in the comments. I read all of it, and if there's some really good ideas that I maybe haven't thought of, we'll see what we can do to make it happen. So yeah, next up, because I think if you come around here and have a look, we're definitely missing something very crucial now that we've got this big sort of body kit and stuff rocking on the back, and that is a rear wing. Now this is something that we mocked up briefly, and I'll chuck a picture up now of what that looked like when we kind of mocked it up on the side of the car. I absolutely love these times of night, you know, everyone in the house is asleep, you're left by yourself in the garage, and some creative juices start going when you start to find some of the spare bits that you add for various cars. Let's show you exactly what we're looking at. What the so stupid. So we've just mocked up something which we could do. Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty wild, and obviously ignore the fact that it's not blended in or anything, but that would definitely make some spoiler on the back of this, wouldn't it? So these are basically the old mounts off of the Porsche Cayman custom rear wing that I designed and then had manufactured. And yeah, we could kind of blend this into this. I don't know. Oh, it's definitely in keeping, but not too sure. The other option was to centre mount it with like 2 pillars that come up the middle. But yeah, don't know. Let me know what you think. Long live stupidity. So yeah, I don't know, it looks okay, it might be alright, but I think we're going to do something better. So what we're going to do quickly now is we're going to draw up some templates of where I think we're actually going to mount this ring through the centre, basically both sides of the rear light. So if we're looking round at this bit now, we're basically going to think mount here, take the bits off the side and just basically mount the whole wing off of those 2 centre points here. So I think what we're going to do first off is we're going to do a cardboard template, which will kind of get us into the loose position of where we want that to go. We're going to take that upstairs, we're going to design that into a CAD file, and then Right, so I think we finalised the design a little bit, so we're probably going to have something like this, and then that's where the wing's going to kind of sit. Now obviously, because we are designing this ourselves, then as soon as we've got it in CAD, we effectively have free reign to adjust it and tweak it to your heart's content, which is awesome. I love that aspect of engineering and design, and being able to do that in 3D is epic. So yeah, so that will be the next episode when we crack on with this, because it will take me a little while to get the design that I want. I'll run through kind of the process briefly with kind of the design aspect, and then also the 3D printing, because I know some of you guys are really interested in that side of things. So this kind of gives an indication as kind of like a really primitive, easy way to start. 3D printers are pretty cheap, so yeah, you don't necessarily need to have mega CAD skills or a 3D scanner to be able to do it. You can do it with just a bit of cardboard and some know-how into how to make that into a 3D shape. So yeah, gonna crack on. It's gonna be really good. And just to give a bit of context as well, just with stuff that you can do, all of these are like center caps and stuff that I did, so ignoring these because these are the actual ones for the snakeskin Saxo. You'll have seen on that car we've actually redesigned these entirely from scratch, so that I now have a CAD file that is this exact thing. So if anyone has these wheels, you can get a cap off me if you need them. And then it's got the snake imprinted on the front. Then we've got some like basic ones that we did ages ago, so these are much better now. This was like a prototype, which is why it looks so rough, but it was effectively for the Vault Estrellas or crystals. Got a center cap for those, so if anyone needs a new center cap, I've got the 3D file for that. That was for some wheels off of the V6 Astra that Workshop 504 are doing, so they wanted a cap redesign, so redeveloped the cap entirely from scratch, which is really cool. So now I've got a 3D file for these as well. So again, another rare wheel if you need a cap for those. Oh yeah, there we go. And then there's the snakeskin Saxo cap. So as you can see there with the two next to each other, got yourself a like for like replacement, bar obviously having the chrome stuff applied to it, but yeah, pretty good. Yeah, so for that sort of stuff, the little rare pieces and bits that you can't buy anymore, it is perfect for that. So if you can get into it, it's definitely a good place to be, because if you can't buy the parts anymore, you may as well design them yourself and make them better. That's what I always think. So yes. Right, so really now comes the real game of fitment side of things with those 18-inch wheels. Obviously we could roll the cars forwards and backwards without an engine in it with those 18s on, so we can definitely make them fit, but we just need to basically work through some of the kinks and rework and change any areas that end up rubbing, especially up front. Now the engine's going to go in the next episode. Going to have a whole host of things to go alongside that. I've never done a full engine swap out of a completely different car before. Done it between sort of different engines in the same model, but never an engine out of an entirely different car. So there's bound to be plenty of things to learn and stuff along the way. So really looking forward to that. But because there's going to be so much stuff going on in the background behind that, it's worthwhile putting a whole episode on exactly what you need to do to put 180 in your Arosa or Lupo. So that's going to be it now for this episode of Tom Mods Things. Check back in the next episode, which will be bringing about shortly, where we're going to go over and see Dan's, and also we're going to go and see what's been going on with Bart's Calibra. So what we're going to be seeing with Dan's 206, which is looking absolutely amazing, to be honest, even more so than what was shown on the last video. He's really making progress with that. And then Bart with the Calibra, he's actually made a start. So we're going to crack on and go and see those two guys, but they're going to be in separate videos so that we can concentrate on some more of the details of each of those builds. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Catch you on the next one. See you later.